Hello and welcome back to Option Monster presents What Happened in the Week, or Time is Money. This is brought to you, of course, by TradeMonster.com, our sister company, where you can trade options for just 50 cents or stocks for $7.50, regardless of how big a trade you make. $7.50, among the lowest prices in the industry. So here's how we traded coming back from Thanksgiving, folks. We did have, of course, that hangover, if you will, Monday, when, despite the fact that the National Retail Federation came out with really big numbers as far as their projections being up 7%, a lot of us were sort of doubting those numbers, or a lot of us actually believe that even if the sales numbers are correct, they came at a very steep price, and that would be that they charged people about a 70% discount to where they normally would be selling, at least for the bulk of their goods, and that's not nearly enough profit margin if you're discounting things up to 70%. So of course we had a pretty harsh sell-off on Monday. Volatility spiked, and then we sort of rallied, but there was a very tepid rally throughout the week, although we did make back a lot of that sell-off, which was nearly 600 points on Monday for the Dow Jones Industrials. Then we started to focus in on the jobs report, which we told you about here last week. That jobs report, one of the ugliest ever. It will be even uglier, by the way, the December jobs report, unless Nancy Pelosi and or Harry Reid get together with President-elect Obama and decide to make that $10,000 tax credit retroactive for the fourth quarter of 2008. Otherwise, I believe people will continue to push job hires off to January, knowing that they will be able to avail themselves of that $10,000 job credit that they've talked about and that the president-elect ran on with his platform. So like I say, absent a move like that, a retroactive move to the fourth quarter of 2008, I think that we could see a 700,000 job loss in the month of December. By the way, November's numbers were down 433,000. But we did make it all the way back into positive territory Friday, and let me give you a couple conferences that I'm focusing in on for next week. Beginning right away on Monday and Tuesday, we've got the IBC Life Sciences Conference. This one will be going on in Durham, North Carolina. Biogen will be presenting there, Human Genome Sciences, or HGSI, also Genentech, DNA. Three of the biggies will be presenting at that conference, and that's why some of the action we're following today, Friday, leading into next week, those three stocks are on our watch list. Another conference that also kicks off on Sunday and runs through Tuesday will be the UBS Global Media and Communications Conference. That one will feature the likes of Time Warner, Comcast, Take-Two Interactive, those kinds of things. Like I say, media and communications, all of those stocks pretty much on their backsides here. So we could see some nice movement out of some of those, perhaps even some consolidation in that conference. We'll wait probably for Monday before we commit and look for unusual activity in there. So make sure you come on back into Option Monster for that. Then we've got the Barclays Global Technology Confab, and this is my favorite of the three. This one goes on San Francisco next week, the 9th through 11th. Stocks that are presenting there, Hewlett-Packard, which famously had their call a little over a week ago that things were gangbusters, and that helped technology stave off some of the harsh selling that had hit them. You've also got Tech Data and a host of technology-related firms. Of course, when you're in Silicon Valley, that's what you'd expect. Come on back from the break, and right after this, I'll tell you which stocks I'm watching next week for earnings right after this. Hello folks, and welcome back. Let me tell you what's going on this next week. We're focused on H&R Block, HRB. Why that stock? Well, because one of the best performers in the S&P 500 this year, and they have just sold off a lot of their advisory, or all of their 900 advisors, to Ameriprise Financial. So they've got a big push and a nice surge that has carried the stock up from around the 14 level where we really liked it, up here to just shy of $20 a share. Now, I still like H&R Block, and I think with the changes to the tax code, they're going to do very well. But watch this one. Because of the run that they've had into the earnings, I think the odds favor a pullback after the earnings, and that'll give us a better entry point, I believe, than getting in ahead of those earnings, and that, of course, is Monday. On Tuesday, we've got AutoZone, AZO. Thursday, this past week, I spoke of this one on the closing bell with Dylan Ratigan, and the reason I spoke of this one was we've seen strong, unusual activity. It's one of the clear outperformers in retail, and yeah, I know auto parts, different kind of retailer, but hey folks, it is a retailer, and AZO was up to $119 on Friday, up better than $4. I'd say watch this one, and just as H&R Block, even though I like it, and I think that the compelling reason is, of course, people staying with their cars longer, need more repairs, that feeds into AutoZone's sweet spot, but I will wait on this one. If you're somebody who's aggressive, you could try that John Deere trade from a couple weeks ago, where we put on a put spread, and on a swoon down after earnings, we're able to scoop up stock cheap and then ride it back to the upside. I think you could get a mirror image or the same right here in AutoZone, but I wouldn't be an aggressive buyer going into the earnings. Already done that, and instead I'm looking for perhaps an ease now into these earnings and with the earnings on Tuesday, and then perhaps buying it in the after hours. Another stock to watch, the other retailer that I spoke of with Dylan, which is Kroger's, KR, a grocer. People are going to be buying food no matter what. And we know Kroger's margins are better than almost anybody else and less debt than anybody else in the space. I love this stock, KR. Again, you take a look at a graph and you'll see why. It's one of those stocks where you'd sort of look back and say, wasn't such a bad 2008 for us. How are you guys doing? Kroger's had a very good year, and I think they'll continue to do well. Look for guidance here, which could be key. That is, how much is the consumer cutting back? But you and I know, folks, that the consumer can't really cut back much when it comes to the groceries that they are still buying at Kroger. Then we'll spin ahead to Thursday. Thursday, we've got Costco. Costco, a stock that I love. I use it every week, shop there regularly. Costco has made a nice rally. We bought it just below 50. It's carried to 54. We'll have chances next week to buy this one, folks. If it gets bullish, I think it runs into upside resistance at $60 a share. That's based on what we're looking at on the charts and a lot of accumulation and resistance, which, since we've fallen below it, will be resistance up at that $60 level. Here at 54, where it is on Friday, I like it, but I'm a much better buyer if we pull back down towards 50 than I am chasing it. So what's the trade here, Doc? Well, we'll see on Tuesday and Wednesday, but in particular, if I had to make a long-term trade here, I would be setting up with a straight call purchase about the 55 strike, because I think these calls are relatively cheap, not reflecting the high and volatile moves that we could see out of Costco. I'm Dr. J from OptionMonster.com. Throughout the day, we use computers, all of this, to harness the 100,000 quotes a second and figure out, parse, if you will, are they buying them on the offer or are they selling them on the bid? That's critical information that nobody else has. Only Option Monster can bring it to you. And if you go over to our sister company, Trade Monster, where again, you can trade for 50 cents for options or $7.50 flat for stock, well, I think you can use these options, learn about them on the educational sites of both. I think there's a lot that you can do with options to make yourself a better investor. And we hope you come back and join us for Time is Money next week. Till then, have a great weekend.